Fox News is now streaming live on Fox One. When it matters most, turn to the voices you trust. We go beyond the headlines, bringing you the stories you won't hear anywhere else. Live coverage, sharp analysis, real perspective. At home or on the go. Stay connected when it counts. Stream Fox News on Fox One. Download today.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Excuse me, taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Well, you are jumping into the deep end of the Stone Zone. And if you love politics and you love America, you're in the room where it happens. The smears against First Lady Melania Trump are one of the most outrageous things I've ever seen. I have known Melania Knaus Trump since 1999. I was working for Donald Trump in New York City when they first started dating. She is, without any question, one of the kindest, gentlest, most cultured first ladies in American history. An incredibly great mother, very protective of their young son until he was old enough to make his own decisions. He was allowed to avoid the glare of the public spotlight. Just one of the finest and most elegant first ladies in American history. But let's get to the real point here, and that is, no, she did not meet Donald Trump through Jeffrey Epstein. She has nothing to do with Jeffrey Epstein. She was never at his home, never on his plane, never at his island. This is just a vicious, outrageous smear. But let's listen to the First Lady herself talk about it.
Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania. The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false.
This is absolutely true. If you go on the internet, there are all kinds of AI-created images of the First Lady nude. They are completely and totally false. She was a high-fashion model. There are some, I would say, sexy, risque, but not in any way lewd or pornographic photos of her, and like lingerie. But that's how she made a living, because she's an extraordinarily beautiful person, both inside and out. But I was there when they were dating. I was at numerous social functions with both of them. This idea that this is somehow connected to Jeffrey Epstein is just a complete and total fraud. Just to be absolutely clear, Donald Trump cut Jeffrey Epstein off in 2004 after Epstein made an indecent advance to an underage woman, Virginia Roberts, later Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who was working in the spa at Mar-a-Lago. Donald Trump also was the only one to cooperate with Robert, later Giuffre's lawyer, in their lawsuit against Epstein. We now know for a fact that Donald Trump called the Palm Beach city chief of police to complain about Epstein. And the irony here, of course, is that it's Bill and Hillary Clinton who socialized with Epstein. It's Bill and Hillary Clinton. Bill certainly visited his island multiple times. We know that from the sworn testimony of a number of the Epstein victims, including Virginia Roberts Giuffre, who they would like us to believe committed suicide less than a year ago. I interviewed her very extensively for my book, The Clintons' War on Women, which, by the way, if you want to find the definitive account of Jeffrey Epstein and the Clintons, it's all there. The Clintons took millions of dollars from Epstein after he had been convicted of sex crimes in Florida. The Clintons continued to socialize with him. Jeffrey Epstein provided the seed capital for the Clinton Foundation and the Clinton Global Initiative. There's a foundation, a nonprofit called Terra Mar. Ghislaine Maxwell was the head of that. That was completely and totally funded by the Clinton Foundation. And although it was supposed to be an environmental nonprofit with a training program for interns, what it really was a grooming pool for Jeffrey Epstein, the epic pervert. So this is an irony, because we know from the FAA flight records, we know from the little black book of Epstein's associates that his butler sold to a British tabloid prior to his death, that Bill and Hillary Clinton had an intimate relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. Hillary Clinton is quoted as saying that her husband was on his plane a couple times for his charity. Now, I don't know who this charity woman is, but it seems to me that 27 times is more than a couple of times. If you want to look at public figures or those in American politics who are on Epstein's island, they're all Democrats. Former Governor Bill Richardson, former Senate Majority Leader George Mitchell of Maine, Larry Summers, the former Treasury Secretary under Bill Clinton. Donald Trump was never on his island, was never in his New York home, went to a charitable function at his Palm Beach home on one occasion, was uncomfortable with the ratio of young men to women, left within 15 minutes, all documented in my book. But the media wants to keep this hoax alive, this idea that Donald Trump is somehow associated with Epstein or covering up the actions of Epstein. It was back in 2018 when I first recognized it, immediately after he was ignominiously fired by Donald Trump. Steve Bannon, according to the New York Post, was seen entering Epstein's palatial home in Manhattan. By the way, I think it is still the single most valuable piece of one-family housing, real estate in Manhattan. I knew right then that something was up. And of course, the subsequent Department of Justice email releases show that Steve Bannon, who would be going on his podcast, The War Room, by day, pretending to be for Donald Trump, was in fact denigrating Donald Trump in his intimate relationship with Epstein. He told Epstein that Trump should be removed from the presidency under the 25th Amendment. He called Trump stupid. When Epstein's non-prosecution agreement in Florida was upheld by the courts, Bannon was jubilant in the emails. These are all matters of public record. It is also interesting that after that he was coaching Epstein about his public image. He was seeking to coach him on what I think was an upcoming 60 Minutes interview, which was later canceled after Epstein was arrested in 2019. But it's very clear that they have a cozy relationship. I would call Bannon an Epstein enabler. I would call him an accomplice. It is all there in black and white. And then, of course, after Epstein was out of the picture, Bannon gravitated to the Chinese national Miles Guo. Now, they repositioned themselves as anti-communist party. Guo and Bannon pulled off a $1 billion fraud, a crypto fraud, a gold fraud, a stock fraud. There's at least $56 million, according to court records, flowed to Steve Bannon. That money came from the CCP. At his trial, when the Chinese national Miles Guo was asked under oath whether his money came from CCP, the Chinese Communist Party, or what his interrelationship was with a man named William G., he was basically Guo's handler, publicly identified by our intelligence services as an official in the Chinese Communist Party, Miles Guo pled the fifth 55 times. So I think it is abundantly clear that Steve Bannon was two-faced at a minimum, a major scamster. It is not incidental that Bannon pled guilty in New York State to embezzling $15 million from the Build the Wall Foundation, but then very strangely, he did no jail time. He also, when Miles Guo, his post-Epstein financial patron, was charged in a $1 billion fraud, Bannon was an unindicted co-conspirator in that case. Any good lawyer will tell you that that indicates that Bannon was an informant. It is interesting that Bannon, as well as former Mayor Eric Adams, used the same fixer lawyer, Arthur Adalia, and I think that is why Bannon escaped justice, at least this far.